Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Do You Guru podcast. I'm your host, Hager, here with Don Ruzicka. Don is a 25 plus year veteran of the insurance industry, joining us today to talk a few things, tips, tricks, how he came into being a guru and all of the like. Don, welcome.
Glad to be here, Chris. Thanks for inviting me.
Glad to have you on, brother. Glad to have you on. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the insurance business and where you came from. We'll start there.
Sure. When I right out of high school went into retail, and that's a good thing for young folks. But I ended up getting into management, and then suddenly operations and personnel and department store management, and it's one of those things where I did that for almost 20 years, and one of those things where all of a sudden they do a restructure, and I made the first two cuts but didn't make the third one. Wouldn't have made the fourth, so it was writing was on the wall. So I found myself without a job in my late 30s, going, what the hell am I going to do? Before the internet, so you didn't have any help to get
Indeed
your job.
And Monster and all those other places you try to go to.
Of that, yeah. I had the newspaper. So I answered an ad that said Fortune 500 company looking for management. And I got an interview with a company at the time called Aflac, which 2 years before the Duck. So it's like, who? My friend told me to call up the insurance commissioner and make sure that it was really a company, but I got in, sounded great, working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and working with business owners. So I thought that was up my alley. So I said, so I passed my insurance test, said, what do I do? The regional manager tells me, okay, start here, and you're going to park your car and just walk, and you're going to get 100 business cards. Okay.
The old school, man. We're going right after, like, walking in the door, old school prospecting.
Well, and literally, hi, can I have your business card? Yes. Okay. I'm gone. Bye. and because even if I told them I was with Aflac, they go, who? But then they said, then it happened that, it took me till 5:30, but I got my 100 cards. And, so I called my regional at 5:30, and I said, I got 100 cards. He said, great. I said, now what do I do? He said, well, tomorrow, they're all in the same geographic area. So now I want you to call those 100 people and ask them for an appointment. And because they're close, you can do them every half hour. Oh, okay. So I got 7 appointments the next day, and I said, now what do I do? He said, oh, I'm coming with you. And I said, okay. It's a crazy story to even think about, but that is how I got started. And then I got lists from the library, from a contacts influential. So I would sit in the library and look for certain size companies in my county and write them down, and had yellow pads full of that stuff. And then I'd start making calls, and just all cold calls. So then I'd call for 4 hours in the morning, and then I would go out and knock on doors 4 hours in the afternoon. And, that I started in 98 and 99 and 2000. I was the top salesperson in the state for 2 years running, and then got into management, and there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you go through this old school prospecting, you're opening up groups. That's a lot of work for people who have ever been in the insurance side, especially when it's 100% commissions. What was it that you started to really love? I mean, I'm sure you were making some money being the top person in the state. Outside of obviously a nice influx of cash, what were some of the things you enjoyed about the business itself?
Well, certainly, I think the dealing with businesses, I knew really before I even started in the insurance business, I knew I didn't want to go into the home and sell life insurance at night. Somebody offered me that gig before I got started with Aflac, and I was like, man, that is not what I want to do. I had young kids.
That dining room table sale is brutal, man. Brutal, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
And that just didn't interest me, but this did. It was really funny. I went to my State Farm guy, and I said, hey, so tell me about the insurance industry. He said, okay, see the door run. And he was a successful State Farm guy, but he was, and then we joked about it. He just said, listen, you got to work hard at it and you got to build it up. And he said, but once it's built, you're in good shape. I mean, he golfed a lot. That's what I remember.
That's a sign of someone who's doing pretty well. If they spend more equal to or more time on the golf course, you know that they're doing something right on the sales side.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So tell me some of the things that really helped you in terms of like being such a prolific sales guy. You mentioned you're one of the top in the state. You do fantastic on the Enrollify app for us as well. What are some of the things that help you really get in front of somebody and be so successful?
Yeah, I think you have to be really disarming right off the bat. You got to be hat in hand, and you just got to say, hey, hi, listen, I'm just here. And you just tell them who you are. Hi, I'm Don with Enrollify. You're not, you don't want to goof around and say, how's the weather? And no, stop. You want to immediately identify yourself. You want to explain to them why you're here. Why, we do this across the country with different companies or different unions. And we talk to their members or employees or members about their one-on-one about their new benefits that have come out. And that's what I'd like to do today. Is this a good time? Yeah. Okay, great. And then, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you married, have kids? And then it's bam, as soon as, and you just listen. I mean, you're going to play off what they're saying. They're not married, congratulations. If they're married, congratulations. It's just whatever. Everything's positive. And then, so, tell me about your benefits today and, what maybe you're looking for and, let's see what we can do. Of course, what do you do for the company and that kind of thing. But, that's taking, I've now spent 1 minute, so it doesn't take forever, but you got to get right to it. But you got to be really high, not overly exuberant. The nice thing with Enrollify is that often, not 100% of the time, because sometimes on their end it's an issue, but you're offering to have their like a Zoom call where you're looking right at them. They can see you, you can see them, and so you're tracking with what they're how they're reacting to you.
Right. Right. So you have the benefit, right? You're really talking about this ability to build rapport right off the bat, right? You're not here to make a bunch of small talk, enough to get to know them, be familiar. You're moving on because you talk about really this idea of active listening and participating in that conversation as you kind of move them down along in the sales process. And then you're going into the education.
Right. And I also take very good notes. And I think that that's actually probably even more than all the other stuff is the biggest thing for me is that when you're talking with, let's say 20 people in a day, believe me, about the fifth one in, you are forgetting what the heck you talked to the first one about. Even if they're memorable, it's sort of, and you've forgotten who their names are, by, certainly as soon as you're done with that contact. So that's why the notes are so important. And then you've got to come back and put them on your put them on the Enrollify. They call it the PDA, the payroll deduction authorization, but it's the personally the notes and documenting what you've offered to them and what they've waived or gone or enrolled in.
Right. And I think taking good notes is a huge piece of it, just so you have the context for who that person was if you need to go back and reach out to them. And, you mentioned this idea of being able to see them, face to face. As somebody who started the business that way, is an engaging guy, you're charming, you know how to have these conversations. It sounds like it's really advantageous to be able to see somebody and get a litmus test for where they're at. Look at their body language. Are they looking at you? Are they distracted? Talk about that a little bit and how that helps you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, often I would say half the time they get a text on their phone and they just they connect with me through their Apple or their phone. And they are instantaneously, they are going to be distracted. Mm-hmm. They're sitting at home or they're sitting on break or at work or whatever they're doing. And you've got to really get them capture them and keep them focused on you, because without that, they're lost. So you just say, hey, can you get to a quiet place real quick? Or, can you turn off the TV? They're not to be obnoxious, but they don't even realize, they have the TV in the background on. They don't even realize that that's, that's distracting them. Yeah, do that. But, so tell me about your pets that you're in your lap, and it's all disarming. But that's fun, but there again, but it's all about, you got to keep bringing them back, though. It's always about circling back to why I'm here, because I only have, I have 20 minutes to talk to you, or 30 minutes, whatever it is. This is what we have to accomplish, and here's how we're going to do it. And the way we're going to do it is you got to stay focused on me, even though I don't say those words. But that's how I've got to keep that in mind, to keep them coming, always come back to the road.
You're like bumpers on the alley of a bowling alley, right, Don? Like, you got to keep them focused and moving along down the road. It's interesting because I think COVID changed obviously so much for people, where now there's so much more comfort on being on video. And so you're used to maybe a kid coming in, or a dog barking, or someone walking by, right? So learning to deal with those distractions is certainly a part of the job. But the advantageous piece, like you said, is you are right there with them in that virtual environment to be able to step through.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other thing too is that what I love about them being at home, and you come to realize, like, they're looking off to their side, their spouse is sitting right there, even though they're off camera. And I say, so who's sitting next to you? And then, it's my husband. Great. Hey, can you introduce me to him? I'm Don, by the way. And boom. And then now you've got, now there's three of you, and that's always a better deal anyway. So because they always have the tough questions, man.
You want all the decision makers in the room. At the end of the day, you might as well address it, right? I think that's one of the things that was advantageous when we designed the system was, hey, do you want to invite a spouse through a link? Or if they're sitting right there, why not have them scooch on, next to you and have that conversation?
Yeah, it's nice, and thanks for setting up the system like that. I've had situations where suddenly there's an extra person. There's like two people that I'm talking to, because they're able to be in different buildings but still be on the same call. And usually it's a spouse, but sometimes it's the trusted advisor, which is always the scary part. Yeah. But,
I hear that. Look, even after 17 years in insurance for myself, my wife still makes the decisions when it comes to what we're getting, because is the dermatologist in there, the pediatrician, the OBGYN? All right, you ask all these questions. I know you know what you're asking. So side question for you. What's the funniest or most interesting thing that's happened while you've been on a call that sort of sidetracked the conversation or caught you off guard?
I think having them driving a car while you're talking to them, and it's like, I don't want this to be dangerous for both of us, because I'm going to need a little bit more attention than what you're able to give. Is there any way you can pull off to the side? But, I've had people pick up their kids while they're talking to me, get them in the back seat, do the twice, do the, okay, how was the school? I mean, literally, I'm right there. It's like I'm in the driver's seat, or in the passenger seat. Hey, how was it, kids? And
how was soccer practice, little Gregory? Yeah. Does everything good? Oh man, it's like, because there again, sometimes people are very comfortable doing that. It's I find it distracting as heck, but makes you a part of the family, though, Don. Right? Like that. Sometimes
absolutely.
It's a good thing. They get that comfortable with you. You're with them as they're scooping up the kids or taking Fluffy for a hair clipping at the dog groomers.
Yeah. Or another one where the mom was sitting in the car and the kids were actually home, so they'd gotten home just ahead of her, and she pulled up and she parked her car, and they were freaking out that she wasn't coming in. So they called her. And she said,
why are you in the driveway?
No, I forgot. That was a good one. That was a good sale, by the way, too. Hey, you need that accident plan,
You've got some kids in there. They're up to some shenanigans. Let's go ahead and get you in there. That's great. Well, let me ask you this. You've been on the system, I believe you said, since 2020. You
Yeah.
mentioned that Joe and Jenny brought you over. What do you think about the system in terms of like the training and the development and some of the things that you picked up along the way?
Oh, absolutely. And what's interesting is that because it was really out, it was not really out, it was out before COVID. And early on, it was pretty obvious that it was way advanced. I mean, Zoom was a nothing at, ahead of that. I mean, I remember being on my first Zoom call right before COVID. A company had invested in it, and it was pretty cool. But I didn't, I couldn't see it being commercially viable. It turned out to be, obviously, but with this system, and the nice thing too is that Zoom is sometimes really difficult. You got to press a lot of buttons. And if you're not tech savvy, it's a real issue. With this, you hit one, you hit the connect, and they're in and you're in, and and it's so there's not this goofing around trying to figure out if your Zoom is going to work, or any of the number of Blue Jeans or Microsoft Teams or whatever. You don't have to figure out which one you have or you don't have and get the app. This is already done.
Right,
So
right. Just clicking the link and dropping in.
right, but I don't think there's been massive need even for changes. There's been maybe some back office improvements, but I think it's the same system as when I started a few 3 years ago. So I mean, it's the same
Excellent.
looking system.
So it feels easy to use,
Oh yeah.
confident in the system and what you've done. And how about any like training and development? Like, if you picked up any new like skill set or learned anything new since jumping on the system?
Yeah, well, because you're working with through different brokers or different companies, everybody's got their own stinking enrollment system now. I was used to one enrollment system, and so I think now I've probably done 8 or 9 different enrollment systems. Just and it's not like they're heavy lifts or anything, but everyone's different, and like I'm doing one right now where, my God, they can do a self-enrollment or have me help. And I pity the person who has to do a self-enrollment on that. They're looking at it once a year, where I'm looking at it, 20, 30 times in a day. I've got it down, believe me. But somebody just coming cold on that thing, oh, it's got to be, what a pain some of these systems are. But I mean, you gain a lot of confidence when you can figure out the tech, even though after a point they're all similar. It's just you've just got to figure out all the nuances of them, and
Yeah,
then
as long as
and
you're
then
familiar, it's easier.
yeah, absolutely. And then learning different, because I was very concentrated on one vendor, learning many different vendors, and learning more about medical insurance, and some of the nuances are out there, because I'm when working in multiple states too, because some states have way different programs than, I'm from the state of Washington, so we have, we'll have completely different, less options than many other states. So in medical or,
Right. And yet you've enrolled in multiple states because
oh,
you have obviously, non-resident
yep.
licenses and stuff. So I see that that part of it, what you're kind of alluding to, is this ability to learn how things work in California and Nevada and Texas, and get skilled up on different carriers and what their offerings are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, the next week doing something, a different, completely different set of carriers, it's like, okay. Um,
Right. Right.
but
Yeah. So you're
yeah.
broadening that base.
Oh yeah. Well, and Enrollify, Jenny sets up a lot of the trainings that you just do online. Question and answer type tests. And they're very easy, very. But again, you learn a lot. If you miss a quick training live, then you can watch the tape. The tape. It's not tape anymore. The digital version of.
We'll explain to the kids what tape is, but it's a
Yeah.
recorded video, basically the same thing. You get access to this stuff. I mean, it's fine. Yeah. So Don, you also had mentioned this ability to work from home. We're doing a lot of stuff on video.
Oh yeah.
Tell me how that's helped your lifestyle to be able to not have to travel as much and to just anywhere you got Wi-Fi, right? You can go to the office basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One time the electricity went off at the house here and I was booked. I literally, I told my wife, I've got to go. I got to go down to Starbucks because Starbucks still had electricity. I literally went down and sat outside in my car and, just come. I immediately apologized. Said, "Hey, look, I know it's weird that I'm in my car, but I had to get Wi-Fi to talk to you."
You
They
didn't
thought
even
it was
go in and
funny.
grab a cup of cappuccino and a seat. You went from your car, Don. That's great.
Yeah, but I had to get to a Wi-Fi, so it was pretty funny. But again, like you just said, it's yeah, having the Wi-Fi. Well, being that I started during COVID with this, it was so tremendous to be able to pull off talking with people who are, by the way, also in their homes, many of them, as opposed to in an office situation. But these one-on-ones, it's really the way to go. It is shocking. We had some situations where some of the cases where we do medical insurance, and there's three different options, and there are people who just say, "Oh, I want the most expensive. I want the least expensive," and it's like, what the hell are you doing? When you ask them enough questions, you go, "Why? You never go to the doctor. Why do you have the most expensive one here? Take the $200 a month that you're paying more than for this one, put it into an HSA, health savings account, pre-tax, and then be able to access that if you have that surprise trip to the doctor, to the hospital." It's like, and for some people, like, blew them away. Or the opposite, where they go for the cheap one because it's cheap, but their spouse and one of their kids goes to the doctor 20 times a year. It's like, what are you doing to yourself? You're saving, you're stepping over a penny or a dollar to save a penny. What are you doing here? You know?
Yeah.
Um, and then they just go, "Oh my God." And then when because again, it's one-on-one, and I'm agnostic on it. I don't care what you do, but let me tell you why you should do this. Let me show you why this makes sense mathematically to do this. And it's just, and a lot of people don't understand what the hell an HSA is. I mean, they, probably one of the best things that was ever invented in the insurance world. What a great way to, save, to put money aside with the purpose being pre-tax, but also to have it there. If all of a sudden you've got a need a root canal and you've got to come up with $1,500, where the hell are you going to get that? Oh, I have that in my HSA.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and look, I think you just touched on a major impetus for the system for us, right? I think a lot of the insurance technology, before 2018-19, was really designed to replace this legacy distribution force of the 1.2 million, licensed insurance professionals, right? It was go self-enroll, and yet when we push people to self-enroll, what we forget is the ability to really sit down and educate with other centered, expert that's going to walk them through and give them that choice. And so this really gives you a forum to educate people and allow them to make the best choice for themselves, their family. And as you said, a lot of times it's not their fault right there. Look, I always said if somebody knows a lot about insurance, my first question is, what's happened in your past that you know this much about insurance, right? And so I know that something traumatic happened, and yet when we're able to get them to see, hey, don't step over the dollars to get to that nickel or that penny, right? Like, you're better off with the PPO in your case because your child's going 19 or 20 times to the doctor, or vice versa. Hey, you don't
Right.
need the PPO because, hey, this is all the things that are going on for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I think it's important um for people to understand that the two most common responses as to what options you're going to do for your medical this year are whatever I did last year, or whatever my friend does.
Right. Right. And meanwhile, whatever my friend does, I'm 25 and my friend's 45, married with 2 kids, and I'm, single and 25 years old.
I
not
might do the
not the
same.
apples to apples comparison we're looking for there.
Mm-mm. No. No, and everybody is in a completely different situation. Even in a small a company of 20 people, there's 20 different situations there, and 20 different best options for them. So,
Right. Agreed. Last couple of questions, Don, as
sure.
we get to the end of this thing here. I know I had asked before, when you talk about this work-life balancing, or this, at least the ability to control your own schedule. My question is that myth or unicorn, right? Is this something, this rarity to be able to have? Are we living up to that for you to be able to control your own schedule?
Oh yeah, 100%. When I, working with the people running the case, they first want you to say when you're available. And man, if I need if the wife has something going with us on Friday afternoon, yeah, I'm only available Friday morning. Okay. But also the opposite happens, where I give them my availability 9 to 5 or whatever on a day, and they'll contact me and say, "Hey, we need some people at 7 a.m. Can you do that?" Sure. So it's being able to do that. And if I want to work a 12-hour day for Enrollify, I can. A lot of companies, especially when there are 24-hour companies, or they are, they have East Coast and West Coast employees. So you've got to have those people who, we got to have a lot of availability. It's not that you have to, but I love that I can, and
Right.
if I want to, and sometimes it's, if I want to work a Saturday and they're offering Saturdays, I'm in, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last question for you. When you are not in your car outside of a Starbucks enrolling people in this amazing environment that we live in today, what does Don Ruzicka do when he's not out educating people on insurance?
Oh man, I love to buy and sell at flea markets. How about that?
That
So
is, how did you
antique
get into
antique
that? I want to know
shows.
that story.
Oh, well, yeah, that was, started as a, 6-year-old. My dad was collected stamps, so we collected stamps. We always said that we wanted to, someday we were going to open his retirement was going to be to open up a stamp and coin store. And he wanted, and I was excited about it. And 2 weeks before I graduated from high school, Dad comes home and he calls a family meeting. He's never had a family meeting before, and he says, "Okay, listen, my I was just at this, or yesterday I went to the stamp and coin shop here in town, and he wants to move and he wants to sell it to me, and I said I'd buy it, and so I went to the credit union and I got whatever it was, $6,000, something stupid, and I want you to run it." Okay. But then, then that starts you into, uh, collectibles and antiques, and then, the buying and selling, and it's a sickness, but it's fun.
So is like Antique Roadshow like your jam, or is that
Oh
is
yeah.
that just all seem phony baloney?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm sure part of it is, but it's very interesting to see what people come up with, and how they, like you just asked, how did that happen? How'd you get that? Or and it's really fun when I've actually met the specialists that that's telling the people about their find. I've actually met that person. Oh my God, I know that guy. Or go know that gal. That's fun too.
Small world, small
Yep.
world. Well, Don, thank you so much for hopping on today. Really appreciate your time, your expertise, and the stories, brother. Have a great day, and hope to have you on again soon. All right, have a good one.